Almost 72 years after the Holocaust, all we can do is remember. Remember all the deaths and destroyed families, the fear and the brutality. Each year's Days of Remembrance, or Yom HaShoah, calls upon the nation to remember. Though the focus is mainly on the Jewish victims, other Nazi undesirables were victims. American troops who liberated concentration camps saw things no human eyes should ever see. There is no specific date on which the Holocaust actually began. Many events contributed to the entire development of the atrocity. The general time period assigned to the tragedy is from 1933 to 1945. Years before war was declared by any nation, one of the most noticeable harassments thrust upon the Jewish people by the Germans was the wearing of a yellow Star of David. The German government first introduced mandatory badges in Poland in November 1939. All Jewish people had to sew the star on all outer layers of clothing. The harassment of wearing badges soon spread to other Nazi undesirables. Today, Vanguard family, we remember through the written words of witnesses. Today, we ask you never forget and to fight for justice and humanity. Ladies and gentlemen, we present We Are Witnesses, 5 diaries of teenagers who died in the Holocaust, based on the book by Jacob Boas.
Who can say and feel and see what is 6 million? Who can fathom it? What is 1 million? It's 10 times 100,000. What is 100,000? It's 10 times 10,000. What is 10,000? It's 10 times 1,000. And so it goes. 1,000 made above 10 times 100. And 10 times 10. And 10 times 1. 1. Ah. It's 1 living and breathing, laughing and weeping, longing and yearning, hurting and helping individual. 1 breathing. In the end, it's 1 created in God's image. In His image, He created it. 1. Can you fathom it? Now you know what 6 million are made above. It's 1. 6 million times it was. Now can you see? Now you know. Now you know. 1 living, breathing, not any more.
First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out, because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. The Holocaust was an event of mass prejudice and abuse of power. It entailed the murdering of between 16 and 20 million people, singled out for their difference, whether they be religious, ethnic, physical, political, social, or national, all because they did not fit in the mold of the Nazi system. Over 6 million Jewish people were murdered, although Jewish people were the primary targets of the Nazis. One must not forget the millions of other victims of the Holocaust. Records kept by the Germans prove they exterminated millions of communists, Czechs, Ukrainians, Greeks, Yugoslavians, Russians, Serbs, Poles, Gypsies, Socialists, Spanish Republicans, trade unionists, Jehovah's Witnesses, blacks, the mentally and physically handicapped, homosexuals, resistance fighters, prisoners of war of many nations, and still, others whose identity may never be recognized. Priests and pastors died for their beliefs. Many who were forced into concentration camps slowly died of starvation and disease. The Nazis sought to annihilate all enemies of the state.
Polish citizens were classified by the Nazis according to their racial characteristics. The ones who appeared Aryan were deported to Lodz for further racial examination. During the Holocaust, 6 million Polish citizens were killed. 3 million were Polish Jews, and another 3 million were Polish Christians and Catholics. Non-Jews of Polish descent suffered over 100,000 deaths at Auschwitz. The Germans forcibly deported approximately 2 million Polish Gentiles into slave labor for the Third Reich. The Russians deported almost 1.7 million Polish non-Jews to Siberia. Heinrich Himmler echoed Hitler's decree. All Poles will disappear from the world. It is essential that the great German people should consider it its major task to destroy all Poles. Hitler's goal? Terrorize Polish people into subservience. Hundreds of Polish community leaders, mayors, local officials, priests, teachers, lawyers, judges, senators, and doctors were executed in public.
Dear Diary, anti-Jewish decrees followed each other in quick succession. Jews must wear a yellow star. Jews must hand in their bicycles. Jews are banned from trams and are forbidden to drive. Jews are only allowed to do their shopping between 3 and 5 o'clock, and then only in shops that bear the placard Jewish shop. Jews must be indoors by 8 o'clock and cannot even sit in their own gardens after that hour. Jews are forbidden to visit cinemas and other places of entertainment. Jews may not take part in public sports. Swimming baths, tennis courts, hockey fields, and other sports grounds are all prohibited to them. Jews may not visit Christians. Jews must go to Jewish schools, and many more restrictions of a similar kind. Love. What is love? I believe love is something that can't really be put into words. Love is understanding someone, caring for someone, sharing their ups and downs. And in the long run, that also means physical love. You have shared something, given something away, and received something, no matter whether you are married or unmarried, whether you are with child or not. It doesn't matter in the least if you've lost your honor. As long as you know that someone will stand by you, will understand for the rest of your life. Someone you won't have to share with anyone else. I simply can't build up my hopes on a foundation consisting of confusion, misery, and death. I see the world gradually being turned into a wilderness. I hear the ever-approaching thunder, which will destroy us too. I can feel the sufferings of millions. And yet, if I look up into heavens, I think that it will all come right, that this cruelty too will end, and that peace and tranquility will return again. In the meantime, I must uphold my ideals, for perhaps the time will come when I shall be able to carry them out.
Like the Jews, the Rome Gypsies were chosen for total annihilation just because of their race. 500,000 Gypsies, almost the entire Eastern European Gypsy population, was wiped out during the Holocaust. The Rome Gypsies were a nomadic people that were persecuted throughout history. They were denied certain privileges in many European countries. The Nazis believed that both the Jews and Gypsies were racially inferior and degenerate, and therefore worthless. Like the Jews, the Gypsies were also moved into special areas set up by the Nazis. Over 400,000 Gypsies perished during the Holocaust.
The military was in town and arrested 3 Jews. They finished them off just outside the district. Already, a lot of Jewish blood has flowed down this district. In fact, a whole Jewish cemetery has already grown up there. When will this bloodshed finally end? If it goes on much longer, then people will drop like flies of sheer horror. peasant from the town over came to tell us our former neighbor's daughter had been shot because she had gone out after 7 o'clock. I can scarcely believe it, but everything's possible. A girl as pretty as a picture, if she can be shot, then the end of the world will soon be here. I ran out, and right enough, there they were, driving up. From far away, you could see them waving too. I threw everything, ran to meet them, and arrived the same time as the truck. I immediately took my father's bundle from him, and he got down from the truck. I entered our flat and couldn't even greet Father. I was so glad. No one can imagine our joy. Only someone who's been through the same experience will understand. It was like a film. We experienced so much in a second. The place was immediately full of people. They all came for the good news. Father had injured his arm. That's why they let him out. First, I was very frightened, thinking he had been very badly wounded. It's hard for me to describe everything Father related.
Every country, even Germany, had those who did not believe in the Nazi ideology and who were willing to die for their beliefs. Perhaps no other group stood so firmly in their beliefs as the Jehovah's Witnesses. Hitler felt very threatened by this strong group of Christians because they, from the very beginning, refused to recognize any God other than Jehovah. When asked to sign documents of loyalty to the Nazi ideology, they refused. Jehovah's Witnesses were forced to wear purple armbands, and thousands were imprisoned as dangerous traitors because they refused to take a pledge of loyalty to the Third Reich. Over 2,000 were persecuted during the Holocaust.
A mortal silence weighs on our city, the calm before the storm. All the Jews are staying at home in the cellars. Our hearts are crushed witnessing the shameful scene where women and older people are beaten and kicked in the middle of the streets by small bandits. All of our helplessness, all our loneliness lies in the streets. There is no one to take our part, and we ourselves are so helpless, so helpless. We are so sad, so lonely. We are exposed to ridicule and humiliation. I am ashamed of what they are doing to us. I was ashamed of our helplessness. It hurts me to see absolutely no way out. We are like animals surrounded by the hunter on all sides, beneath us, above us, from the sides. Broken locks snap, doors creak, axes and saws. I feel the enemy under the board on which I am standing. The light of an electric bulb seeps through the cracks. They pound, tear, and break. Soon the attack is heard from another side. Suddenly, somewhere upstairs, a child bursts into tears. A desperate groan breaks forth from everyone's lips. We are lost. A desperate attempt to shove sugar in the child's mouth is of no avail. They stuff up the child's mouth with pillows. The mother of the child is weeping. People shout in wild terror that the child should be strangled. The child is shouting more loudly. The Lithuanians are pounding more strongly against the walls. However, slowly everything calmed down itself. We understand they have left. Later we heard a voice from the other side of the hideout. You are liberated. My heart beat with such joy. I have remained alive.
During World War I, black African soldiers were brought in by the French during the Allied occupation. Some of these black soldiers married white German women that bore children referred to as Rhineland bastards, or the Black Disgrace. In Mein Kampf, Hitler wrote that he would eliminate all children born of African German descent because he considered them an insult to the German nation. The mulatto children came about through rape, or the white mother was a whore, Hitler wrote. In both cases, there is not the slightest moral duty regarding these offspring of a foreign race. the Nazis set up a secret group, Commission Number 3, to organize the sterilization of these offspring to keep intact the purity of the Aryan race. Children were taken from their homes or schools without parental permission. Once a child was decided to be of black descent, the child was taken immediately to a hospital and sterilized. About 400 children were medically sterilized, many times without their parents' knowledge.
A Jew in departing, a Jew in arriving, a Jew in arising, a Jew in sitting, a Jew in walking, a Jew in standing, a Jew in thought, a Jew in deeds, a Jew in trouble, a Jew in joy, a Jew in silence, a Jew in speech, a Jew in drinking, a Jew in eating, a Jew in business, a Jew in studying, a Jew in shoes, a Jew in clothing, a Jew in hatred, a Jew in love, a Jew in God, a Jew in people, a Jew in life, a Jew in death, a Jew in heaven, a Jew in earth, a Jew you are born, a Jew you will die. I'm sitting at the window and reading myself for prayer. I look out and see that all is red. The whole horizon is red. The sky is covered with bloody clouds, and I am frightened when I see it. I say to myself, where do these clouds come from? Bleeding clouds, where are you from? Don't you know? They come from the seas of blood. These seas have been brought about by millions of Jews who have been captured, and who knows where they are. We are the bleeding clouds, from the seas of blood have we come. We have come to you from the place where your brothers are, to bring you greetings from your people. We are witnesses. We were sent by our people to show you their trouble. We were brought into being in an inferno of suffering, and we are a sign of peace to you. 2,000 years we have brought children into this world who are doomed to suffer. Lord our God, is this still not enough? Wilt thou forget us forever, Lord of Israel? Pity us, and have mercy, Lord, on thy people. Do not tarry, do not wait, for soon it will be too late.
Spanish Republican exiles were considered political enemies of the Nazi regime. Anti-Nazi refugees and illegal refugees in Belgium and France numbered over 30,000. The International Brigades of the Spanish Civil War were a subgroup within the anti-Nazi refugees. These freedom fighters were imprisoned automatically when they crossed the border into France after the defeat of Republican Spain. At the beginning of 1939, nearly 500,000 refugees fled across the border to France. Once in France, these Spaniards were herded into primitive beach concentration camps near the Mediterranean coast. When the Nazis invaded France 2 years later, many of the Spanish freedom fighters who were imprisoned in temporary camps in France were later deported to official concentration camps such as Mauthausen, Buchenwald, and Dachau. In these camps, the majority of the Spanish Republicans met their deaths. In Mauthausen, by early 1945, only 3,000 remained alive, and of these, 2,163 were killed in a 3-month time span, from February through April of 1945.
February 13, 1944. Dear Diary, I was born on Friday the 13th, and today is my 13th birthday. We had quite a good party with tea and sandwiches. Other birthdays we celebrate with hot chocolate and whipped cream, but because of the war, there isn't enough milk. I don't mind though. Besides, drinking tea is more grown up. For my mom, I got a gold bracelet, and for my father, a pair of high-heeled black shoes and 2 pairs of sheer stockings, both a first. I also got a pretty gold chain, where I will keep the key with which I will lock you so that no one will know my secrets. April 9th, 1944. Today they came for my father on account of his family's money. So they said. I brought him lunch at the elementary school where he is being held. As I waited, someone told me that he has become a security. Only, I don't understand how a human being can be a security. At last they let me go in to see him. Most of these securities sat in the yard on the ground. The sick ones lay in the classroom on the bare floor. Papa said it wasn't so terrible, but it was so boring and uncomfortable. When I left him, it occurred to me that when I was going to elementary school, we children always used to be inside the gate, and the parents would wait outside the fence to take us home after school. Now the adults are inside the school fence, and we children are outside waiting. There is no getting away from it. The world is topsy-turvy. April 20th, 1944. Papa was released today, dear diary, but what is interesting is that he isn't even glad about it. He said that in his opinion, this isn't the end of it, but only the beginning. What else can happen that can be worse than what has happened already? I know. It can only be Poland. Last week of April, 1944. Today the news came that we would go to a ghetto. The housemaid stared packing, and Grandma went on ironing the minskirts on the porch as though she hadn't heard a word was said. We read in the notice that we are allowed to take along only one change of underwear, the clothes on our bodies, and the shoes on our feet. But Grandma just went on ironing, and all the while, she even hummed to herself, and I had never heard her sing before. All the while, I thought I was having a bad dream, that I would wake up and the dream would disappear. I know it isn't a dream, but I can't believe a thing. I am busy all day making coffee for Uncle Bella, but Grandma drinks cognac. Nobody says a word. Dear diary, I have never been so afraid. 3 days later, the policemen came to take us into the ghetto today. They were not unfriendly, but one of them insisted I give it the pretty little chain holding your key. Don't you know yet, he said, that you aren't allowed to keep anything made of gold? This isn't private Jewish property anymore, but national property. So I gave him the chain, and in Grandma's night table, I found a velvet ribbon. The policeman said I could take it along to the ghetto with me. Now your key hangs on that velvet ribbon, dear diary. As we drove to the ghetto, I cuddled up alongside Grandma so as not to see the Aryans in the street. They were taking their afternoon strolls as though it were the most natural thing in the world, that from now on we should live in the ghetto. May 30th, 1944. All I think about is Marcia, and I'm afraid that what happened to her is going to happen to us too. Dear diary, I don't want to die. I want to live, even if it means that I'll be the only person here allowed to stay. I would wait for the end of the war in some cellar, or on the roof, or in some secret cranny. I would even let that cross-eyed armed police officer kiss me, just as long as they didn't kill me, only that they should let me live. I can't write anymore, dear diary. The tears run from my eyes.
Unto every person there's a name, bestowed on him by God and given to him by his parents. Unto every person there's a name, accorded him by his stature and type of smile and style of dress. Unto every person there's a name, conferred by the mountains and the walls which surround him. Unto every person there's a name, granted him by fortune's wheel, or that which neighbors call him. Unto every person there's a name, assigned him by his failings, or contributed by his yearnings. Unto every person there's a name, given to him by his enemies, or by his love. Unto every person there's a name, derived from his celebrations and his occupation. Unto every person there is a name, presented him by the seasons and his blindness. Unto every person there is a name, which he receives from the sea and is given to him by his death.
All right, y'all. So introducing our cast, we have our first narrator, Cody Moody. We have our second narrator, Audrey Pickney. Playing Anne Frank and Ava Heyman, we have Elizabeth Bonner. Playing David Ruvinovic, we have Savon Gonzalez. Playing Yitzhak Rudashevsky, we have Ore Kuye. I'm playing Moshe Flinker, we have Elliot Bond. All right, now up in the booth doing lights, we have Kai Gavin Robinson Allard III. Doing our sounds and effects, we have Matthew Marinello and Kahim Malone. Doing our recording, we have Chris Maythird. All right, now on stage, doing our curtains, we have BJ Harris. Come on, come on. Oh yeah, shout out Isaiah as well. He's also doing recording. So. Doing our wardrobe, we have Brianna Walker. Last but not least, our stage manager, the one and only, Tyler Ebanks. All right, so yeah, that's it. I'm gonna hand it over to Mr. Walker now.